Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, September 9th, 2013 Valley View School Board meeting. Where are we at? Mr. Venegas? No, Venegas not here. Liz, Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gugis, if you would give us the Board of Education mission statement and beliefs.
Our mission is to ensure that all students are prepared for college and a successful life, academically, socially, and emotionally, as well as equipped with the necessary tools to have options and make decisions about their long-term goals. This will be accomplished by believing and working towards all students learning through rigorous curricula and meaningful and effective instruction. Consequently, demonstrating mastery on high-quality assessments, with all stakeholders being held accountable throughout the process.
Thank you. Moving down the agenda, Dr. Mitchum.
Mr. President, I would like to ask that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda? Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Lucas?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Mr. Grazafi.
Yes, Treasurer's Action Report 5.1 for your consideration and action this evening are the bills totaling $3,351,556.78 for the month of August 2013.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So Second.
Motion and second. Motion by Member Gugis, second by Member Felice. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Treasurer's Action Report 5.2 is the schedule of bills for September 2013 totaling $2,232,688.41 for your consideration.
Motion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on the bills? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
The usual battery of reports are also included there under Treasurer's Report, the summary of investments, property taxes received through August 31st, 2013, as well as the school trust activities accounts. Any questions, be happy to answer them at this time.
Anyone have any questions, Mr. Grazafi, on the following three reports? As those are informational only, there's no action required. Moving down the agenda, consent agenda items. Dr. Mitchum.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask the board to approve consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.5, 6.1 board meeting minutes, August 26, 2013, 6.2 executive session meeting minutes, August 26, 2013, 6.3 gifts for B.J. Ward and Scoff Elementary Schools, 6.4 trips for Romeoville High School, and 6.5 student activity contracts for Pioneer Elementary with Scholastic Books, and the Intra-State Studio and Irene King Elementary with the Chip Shop.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on consent agenda items? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Moving down the agenda, Pillars of Valley View. Starting out with Vice President Gugis. Oh, and Rebecca, Ms. Khan. Come on up.
President Quigley, Vice President Gugis, board members, senior leadership. I'm delighted to recognize Rebecca Batista Sullivan as a pillar of Valley View. Rebecca is a music teacher at Tibbet and Sauk Elementary Schools and has taught at Scoff, Pioneer, Icy Hill, and Hermanson since joining us, our Valley View family here. Rebecca is an outstanding teacher whose love for music is evident every day in the classroom. Rebecca has been competing in the Shanahan's vocal competition in Downers Grove, teaches private piano and voice lessons, and currently pursuing her master's in special education with an emphasis on music therapy. She has taught elementary, middle, and high school level music over the last 15 years. This year, she'll be teaching the children's chorus for Bolingbrook High School's presentation of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Rebecca has gone above and beyond in helping create the K-5 music curriculum for the district. Under her leadership, the K-5 team has been able to create a rigorous music curriculum for our students. Rebecca spent many hours researching other districts and the national standards prior to leading her team through the process of writing curriculum. The team chose to use the national music standards over the Illinois standards due to the higher rigor and the expected adoption of the national standards into the Common Core in the next 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Batista Sullivan.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Jamie McGee, Mr. Valenza, and Member Felice.
Good evening, members of the board, senior leadership, and the rest of the Valley View community. It's with great pleasure that Jamie McGee nominates 5th grade teacher Melanie Wozniak to be our pillar of Valley View. In her time at our school, Ms. Wozniak has established herself as a role model and leader among our staff. Melanie ensures that each and every one of her students are challenged and treated with respect. She sets a positive example by continually striving to improve her teaching. She is constantly reading and researching current best practices and brings those new ideas into her classroom. Melanie will try any strategy if it means that she may better meet her students' needs. Her passion and enthusiasm for her students is an example for us all. It is my privilege to recognize Ms. Melanie Wozniak as our pillar of Valley View.
Dan, stay there. Next up, Ms. Rollerson, Lukansic Middle School.
Good evening, President Quigley, members of the board, Dr. Mitchum, senior leadership, and our entire Valley View community. It is an honor to recognize Rana Natoli as a pillar of Valley View. As one of our front office secretaries, Ms. Natoli is one of the first individuals that greet our student, staff, and community at Lukansic. She welcomes all people with a smile and goes out of her way to ensure that everyone's needs are met. She knows many students and parents on a first-name basis and is also very connected to our staff. As many of us know, our facilities at Lukansic are a hot commodity, and Ms. Natoli is the person behind the scenes making all of the events that are held at the building a success. She goes above and beyond to ensure that she meets the needs of everyone she comes into contact with on a daily basis. Ms. Natoli is the type of individual that truly has a heart of gold and puts the needs of others before her own. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Rana Natoli, pillar of Valley View.
Last, certainly but not least, Mr. White from Bolingbrook High School.
Are you ready? Okay. All right. Good evening, Board of Education, senior leadership, and community members. It's my pleasure to recognize Gary Papish as a pillar of Valley View. Gary is our maintenance man at, our night maintenance man at Bolingbrook High School. Gary is found to do a number of things in a number of different ways for a number of different people because he flies alone at Bolingbrook High School. And I want to give you an example. Board President Quigley emailed Dr. Mitchum, Mr. Kinder from Romeoville, and myself and said that how proud he was of the camaraderie that was built that he saw and that was built between the two schools at the football game. He saw all the setups and the work that was done there and was very proud of that. And one of the things that I shared with him is Valley View School District have outstanding workers. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Outstanding workers. And in that thought, one of the people that I thought about, because I know the work that he does, was Gary Papish. And that's a pillar of Valley View because there has not been a complaint for any of our staff members. There's not been a person who said, I don't like Gary and I don't like his work. They have always complimented him, as a result, making me look good. And, you know, I need a lot of people to make me look good. And with that said, he says, there's no good man without a good woman. So he is joined by his wife, Mary Jane, from R.C. Hill, Tigers. And she shared with me that I have to say, what did you say? Yeah, for her to join him. So with that said, on behalf of the Board of Education, I present to you Gary Papish and Mary Jane.
Picture taken. Sorry. Thank you.
Next up, liaison reports. Any and all, please. No liaison reports? Mr. Felice, you look like you're ready to say something. No?
Sorry.
I have none either. Audience participation. Is anybody who wishes to address the board this evening? Please step forward and state your name.
Good evening, Thomas Soliga, Romeoville, President Quigley, members of the board. Good evening. On June 15th, there was a meeting where I watched online, and that was probably the best meeting I've ever seen by this board. When Member Sikora, for which I want to thank you, brought up the issue of grading 90-10. There was some really good things said from all the parties. I'm very disappointed there was only 90-some views online for this meeting. I think there should be much more. However, President Quigley, you said at the end of that meeting that this will be continued, possibly later in the summer. And this is the third meeting since then, and no one has said anything about any workshop, any reach to public to speak about this. I'm a parent of 2 kids in high school in our district. So as a parent, I would like to also express my opinion on it. And I would hope that you would hear us. And I'm sure there are other parents, teachers, possibly students that can also give you feedback on that. So we hope to hear something from you soon on that. Additionally, if I may, I would like to ask you for a couple minutes at the end of the meeting, if that's possible.
Sure. Thank you.
I believe at that meeting, it was indicated that we would continue that discussion in our community outreach. And as has been the tradition of this administration, we have community outreach in the fall and in the spring. We have presented 90-10 to the public for 2 straight years through our community outreach, at least 10 times, potentially. But again, we are in the process of planning our community outreach as we always have. And during that, there's always an opportunity for questions and answers. So I would invite you to attend our community outreach. Those dates have not been set yet, but they will be set. We believe we will begin that process in October. And then at that time, if you have questions of me concerning 9010, I'd be more than willing to ask those. And if you have questions of me prior to that meeting, I'd be more than willing to set up a time at which to meet with you.
Next, please come forward and state your name.
Hello, my name is Tamara Warren.
And my name is Heidi Yadao.
We have children that attend Irene King and the middle school AVM. First of all, we would like to say thank you for your time. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to us and hear us tonight. We are here because of the grading scale change that was brought to our attention. We, the undersigned, want the Valley View School Board to maintain letter grade report cards for 4th and 5th graders in all elementary schools to better inform students, the parents, and higher education facilities of their academic progress as we prepare them to become truly college and career ready. We feel that we have not been properly informed before a decision like this is made or approved, that as a parent, we should be informed on something this big. A report card is for the parent. It's for our understanding. And we appreciate that accumulative grade. My son came home, just for an example, if you give me a minute, he came home, he went to 4th grade this year, and in school for them to go to the next level is like a big thing. I don't know, were we all young before? You know how it was when you get ready to go to junior high, you thought you was big stuff, right, Shanti? Because my baby thinks she's doing it right now because she's going to junior high. So each level that you make, you feel an accomplishment, you feel proud. So he was proud that this year he was going to receive grades. He told his little brother, don't worry, because next year you'll get grades just like me. And so he got his first letter grade, and he ran home, he said, Mommy, Mommy. He was so excited. He didn't care what was on that paper, but it was a letter grade. Then he said, my teacher sat us down and she had a discussion with us, and she talked to us and she said, you know, for us not to get discouraged, that if we get a D on something, that's okay, because we can bring that D up to a B. We can continue to work hard to bring it up. So as parents, we also started a petition. I don't know, do you all want a copy of it? Sure. Would you all like a copy?
Can you give it to Mr. Rand and he'll
make a copy? Sure
Yeah.
will. Because we're not just the only parents. There's over 100 signatures on that paper, and there's still some petitions that are out because of the short notice of the board meeting, because we only had a week. So because of the short notice for us, I know the board meeting is on the calendar prior to this, but when we found out this information, we only had a week to really get out and get those signatures and let people know what is really going on. Because when I talked to a couple parents at Tibbet, R.C. Hill, they had not been notified. Hermanson, none of the 12 elementary schools parents had been notified that the district was about to make a change like this.
As a point of clarification, the presentation this evening, the information report is on standards-based report cards for grades K through 3. Grading for grades 4 through 5 has not changed this year. We are exploring standards-based grading for grades 4 through 5, and we would invite you to stay this evening because we're going to explain a little bit about standards-based reporting and why that is an effective way to communicate children's progress as they progress through schooling, and I'd be more than happy to discuss that further with you and any other parents or community members who would like to discuss that.
Right, so will there be a forum? I know he said in October they'll be talking about some different things before the decision is made. That's where we are as concerned parents, is not only just for me, because I can't get back and get the word out. I will do that. But as concerned parents, to hear all of us, and other parents, I didn't want it to be like we were bombarding tonight. So a few of us are out tonight, but we would like to know, will there be something else where we will have a chance to
Absolutely
speak on it before it is finalized?
Absolutely. Nothing has been finalized. We have not even begun the committee for our 4-5 report card. What you will be hearing tonight is the K3 report card changes, which has been standards-based for quite some time. It has just been updated to be more aligned with the new learning standards and to better communicate with our families. The 4-5 changes They have not even been discussed yet, certainly not finalized, and we most definitely need parent involvement. So I appreciate you getting the word out, and I welcome you to be a part of that process. And any other parents who would like to be a part, we welcome your input as well. So there's definitely not been any decisions made, and I thank you for coming this evening. And if you could see Mr. Randa in the back and make sure he has your name, we will certainly be in contact with you, because we do want to hear from you, and we do want to make sure that our students, that together we work together, and that they are prepared for college and career readiness and for when they leave us.
Okay, do you have a direct line, direct information, so that therefore if we don't hear from you, that we can contact you since you are in charge of that?
Absolutely. My name is Rachel Kinder. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services.
Okay.
My last name is spelled Kinder. I can be reached at the Administrative Office, 815-886-2700. And you're free to email
have
me.
a business card, would you?
I most certainly would be happy to get that for you. Mr. Randa will help you out with that in the back.
All right.
And I can also be reached via email, kinderrj@vvsd.org.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kinder.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
ladies.
great night. Oh,
Thank you.
have a great night.
Next up. You got 30 seconds. Just kidding.
Good evening, President Quigley, school board members, Dr. Mitchum, and senior leadership. My name is Diane Perro, and I'm president of the BHS Music Boosters, and this is Amy Rupsis, director of bands at BHS. I'd like to first of all thank you for allowing us the opportunity to do this presentation tonight, since we have a marching band conflict the night of your next board meeting. We are here to request board approval on a very aggressive project the BHS Music Department would like to undertake. And please note that it's the music department, not Music Boosters. We would like to raise monies to purchase a sound shell system, referred to as a cloud system, for the BHS auditorium. While we currently have a very small portable sound shell that our choirs are able to use, there is nothing that our bands and larger ensembles are able to benefit from. And the portable sound shell that we currently have is basically a cheap fix for really addressing the problem of sound going up into the fly system, into the curtains, and into the wings of our stage when our bands and choirs perform. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term fly system or the wings, the fly system is if you're standing on stage and you look up and it goes all the way to the ceiling of that big, huge auditorium building, way, way up, and the wings are like off stage to the side. We are hoping to raise money to purchase a pioneered acoustical shell design that will deliver incredible acoustics to both the ensemble performing and the audience. This sound shell design consists of side towers, rear towers, and a ceiling structure with lighting to create an effective enclosure that reflects and diffuses sound. The result, musicians hear more accurately, conductors hear a truer sound mix of sounds, and the audience experiences an outstanding acoustical effect throughout the auditorium. You will see on the next screen here, the company that we are using is Wenger Corporation, and they've got their own little verbiage here describing the sound shell. So I'll read it to you with the pictures. A full stage acoustical shell reflects sound back to the source so musicians can hear themselves more accurately. By reflecting and diffusing sound throughout the enclosure, a full stage acoustical shell enhances cross-communication vital to ensemble performance. For conductors, a full stage acoustical shell delivers a more accurate mix of sounds from the entire orchestra or ensemble, and a full stage acoustical shell projects sounds into the audience and prevents sound energy from escaping into the flyloft, curtains, and stage wings. Not only does this sound shell system provide fabulous acoustics, the towers and ceiling panels also exhibit a stunning visual appearance. The ceiling panels are housed in the fly system of the stage and can be rotated and raised all the way up to the roof if they are not needed. The back and side towers are portable and store nested together in a small amount of space. This sound shell system would benefit performances on stage by any of our own choirs or bands, by the elementary schools that use our stage for their concerts, and by outside organizations that come in to rent the auditorium for a band or vocal performance. The stunning visual appearance will also make any meeting or presentation in our auditorium appear much more professional. All colleges and many of the newer high schools have this type of system in their performing arts center and/or auditorium. The estimate we have received for this system is $110,000 if purchased in 2013, with an estimated 3% increase each year after that. This estimate is for a laminated system rather than a painted system. The painted system is slightly less expensive, but the appearance is not as rich and nice looking. We do have the option of purchasing this sound shell system as a whole, or we can purchase just the ceiling portion and then the wall portion, depending on the initial success of our fundraising efforts. If purchasing the system in 2 installments, we would opt for the ceiling panels first, as most of the sound is lost going up, followed by the wall portion. The cost of the ceiling portion is $49,000, and the cost of the walls is $61,000. We have put much time and effort into a plan for raising this money. And no, we're not having bake sales and car washes. But what we are doing for our first phase is to sell plaques to hang in the auditorium lobby, which will be purchased by donations from business owners, community members, present and past music families, BHS clubs, and basically anyone who's willing to give us money. We have spoken with several key leaders in our building, our district, and our community, and the excitement for this project is definitely there. We have the support of the Bolingbrook Chamber President, Michael Carpenzano, who will help promote our endeavor to the Bolingbrook businesses. All of the Lincoln Way schools currently have plaques in their auditorium lobbies from fundraising efforts put forth by their foundation. When Lincoln Way North opened, they raised $29,000 in their first push on the plaques, and they only offer the option to purchase plaques at $100 a piece. We are asking for larger donations and support in addition to the smaller donations like $100. If other schools within strong communities can be successful with an undertaking like what we are proposing, we believe that we can be successful as well. Of course, this presentation is a very high-level synopsis of what we are doing. Selling of the plaques is phase 1 of our project, which we plan to launch in early October, pending board approval. We are working on phase 2, which will be an event at the golf club in early April, possibly with Renaissance-themed entertainment, and a phase 3 event, which will be held in the BHS auditorium in May. At this event, we would hope to have our new sound shell in place. Also, since this is the 10-year anniversary that BHS is open, we have some other things planned. Our choir director, Lawrence Fisher, is commissioning a composer to compose an alma mater for our school, which is different than a school fight song, and is having one of our choir and band alumni students, Kevin Nepomuceno, who is a journalism and English major, write the words for it. Mr. Fisher's thoughts on this are to have a grand scale orchestration play the melody for about 5 minutes, which would be played by our wind symphony, then have the choral portion tune in, which would be sung by our Sunrise Singers, and then invite the audience to sing along. This would be a community event that would celebrate the 10-year anniversary of our school, as well as the success of our project. I understand that this board approval request needs to be put on next meeting's agenda, and I want to thank you again for allowing us to do this presentation tonight, since we have our marching band middle school invitational the night of your next board meeting. If anyone has any questions, you can contact myself or Amy Rupsis. Our information is up there. And Amy is passing out right now copies of what this sound shell looks like from the Wenger Corporation. Are there any questions that you would have right now?
Sure. How can we help?
Pardon me?
How can we help?
Give us money.
So you want it up front, and you're going to raise it back? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
No.
You just want the 110.
We are.
Got it in your pocket.
Yeah, we'll take
I
it.
wish.
Well, what we are doing is okay.
Well, I would be happy to help sit on a committee or whatever you guys want to do. I know I talked to Member Hanson, who's home ill this evening. She said she would be happy to do that as well. And if anybody else would like to jump on there and outreach to the community leaders and business folks, I'd be happy to help you do that. So,
Thank
I've
you.
already talked to Mrs. Sparrow. Let her know I'd help.
I think
with
we
approval,
have,
I'll give you the first $1 too.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to put a challenge out there, though. I would like to announce that we're doing a gifting challenge for our initial phase of this project. So if anyone would like the challenge to match our first $5,000 or more in donations, just let us know. We will be happy to accommodate that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Look forward to seeing how this all turns out when it's done.
Thank you very much.
Do we have a copy of that presentation?
I would be Larry. The video or the written?
What's up there?
Larry, you'll have it.
We already have it.
No.
You just don't have it.
Oh, okay.
Moving down the agenda, student due process.
Mr. President, I ask that the board approve student due process cases A through B as presented.
Motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
No.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Next, Ms. Kinder.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, President Quigley, Vice President Gugis, members of the board and Valley View community. Tonight, we bring to you an information report regarding our new elementary report card for grades K through 3. A great deal of work went into the development of a new report card, so I'd like to thank all of those who were involved in the process, including staff, parents, and administration. We are proud of how the tool has evolved throughout this process, and we feel strongly that this new format and alignment will assist in more effective communication with our parents so that we can all better support our students to meeting and exceeding academic expectations. Our purpose this evening is to introduce the concept of standards-based grading to ensure that we are all familiar with what that is, provide a summary of the process and the development of this revised K-3 report card, explain how the new report card will impact our families, and share what resources are available for our families, as well as share next steps in supporting this new implementation. I'd like to invite Elizabeth Martinez, Executive Director of Pre-K 5, and Adam Herder, Pre-K 5 Math and Science Coordinator, up to the podium. They're here with us this evening to share a brief presentation to introduce the new K-3 report card, and the three of us will also be happy to answer any specific questions that you may have. Elizabeth is going to begin by reviewing the concept of standards-based grading, and then we'll continue from there.
Good evening, Vice President Quigley, Vice President Gugis, members of the board, Dr. Mitchum, senior administration, audience, and community. Thank you so much for being here today. Well, we are excited to give this overview of the standards-based report card for kindergarten through first grade. It is a focus on mastering learning standards without trying to accumulate points so that the parents have a clear understanding of the learning standards that are being instructed in the classroom. Communication of students' academic achievement is the goal so that parents can be partners in our efforts to do the best we can for their children. Encouragement of student reflection and responsibility for learning, also promoting communication between teachers, students, and parents. This is a video that gives a nice understanding of standards-based grading, so we'll let you view this for a few minutes.
When the focus of grading is to give clear feedback and help the student take ownership over his own learning, it becomes a truly useful tool. All too often we forget the focus of grading. We give a grade to show a student what he did in the past, but forget to connect that to what he can do going forward. As teachers, we found that using standards-based grading enabled us to stay focused on giving more meaningful feedback to our students. Standards-based grading, or SBG, helps teachers do three things. 1. Learning goals. Standards-based grading helps us focus on the learning goals of our class. SBG is a grading system that focuses on the content, skills, or standards that students must learn. This means that when recording scores, the concern is not with a cumulative grade on a test, but rather the level of mastery the student has achieved on each concept assessed on that test. With that slight change, patterns begin to appear in the classroom as a whole and for individual students. The class may be struggling with a particular concept and may require the teacher to revise her instruction, or a student may show a pattern of weakness with a particular skill which can be individually addressed. 2. Assessments. Standards-based grading forces us to look at our curriculum and make sure that each activity, test, and project has a purpose. With a clear idea of each learning goal, we can be more intentional about what each activity is for. When creating tests, we know exactly which skills need to be assessed. Existing homework assignments or activities that don't aid or assess any learning goals are clearly not necessary. 3. Feedback. Standards-based grading helps us give better feedback to our students. Once the goals of the class are clear, we can be clear with students about how well they were mastering the content. We used to say you must earn an 82% on the final to pass. With SBG, we can say, you just need to focus on using clear evidence to support your claims. The focus is on skills instead of points. Standards-based grading is an assessment and feedback method that helps teachers stay focused on the goals of the class, align all parts of the curriculum to the course goals, and give students specific, actionable feedback about their strengths and weaknesses.
Thank you, Mr. Herter. So as you can see from that video, it is our goal to be very transparent with the students so that they clearly know what our expectation is for what we want them to know and be able to do. As well as for the parents, we want to be able to help them to understand the important instruction that's going on in each of our classrooms. So this is a little summary of what we've been working on for the last few years. The school year 2011-12, there was a committee formed to align the report cards with the Common Core state standards. Then 2012-13, the academic committee worked in partnership with several of our district departments and created an updated standards-based report card, which was distributed this year, and it clearly and consistently is aligned with the learning benchmarks. For 2012 and 13, an updated teacher and friendly progress report was created. We tried to keep it very simple so that it's very clear and good feedback is given to the parents as well as for the students.
Just wanted to briefly give a visual of the new report card as well as the progress report. Without going into too much detail, the rest of the presentation discusses this as well. This is what the front page of the new report card will look like for kindergarten through third grade. There are some changes depending on the grade level in the left-hand column, but they're essentially the same. In addition, you'll notice that we're very excited about is the teacher comment section. This is something that was expressed as a positive by parents who gave feedback, teachers, and building administrators, that teachers can type in their own comments or choose from pre-selected comments in their online gradebook. And these comments are cumulative, so every quarter parents can see their child's progress in terms of those learning behaviors and learning skills. The second page of the report card has standards on it, and those are the learning standards that will be assessed by teachers, and the ratings on that page then inform this front page. This front page is the page that we are excited about because it really gives parents a very detailed but easy to read format on their child's progress. Quickly, the progress report mentioned simply discusses the main core subjects that our students study.
And teachers, again, are able to write in their own comments for each subject to give parents a viewpoint or a snapshot at the middle of each quarter for how students are performing.
Just wanted to remind our community that you can expect the progress reports around September 17th, and our first report card will be sent home with students October 24th. That's at the end of our first quarter. So that would be the first time you would actually be seeing that sent home.
Who's getting the progress report?
Who's getting the progress report? All students are getting the progress report. In the past, that was not always the case, but going forward, all students will receive a report on how they are progressing in our, with our academic skills that we have targeted.
As been stated previously, there's been a very strong strategic effort to align several components of our organization, and the standards-based report card is another element that we can offer transparency and be consistent in communicating with the parents. So the Common Core state standards are embedded within this format, as well as the new view that matches our beliefs, as well as the rigor that is our expectation. Also, the VVSD strategic plan, the indicators on the slide, show that those specifically address our efforts to have a standards-based report card to help make sure that we have a rigorous instruction and accountability for our students, as well as the Rising Star indicators. So you can see all four of those areas have been thought of so that we're making sure that we are consistent and aligned in every aspect of our organization.
I'd just like to comment that the strategic plan is, of course, what sets our vision and the direction that we take to move forward as a district. Rising Star is a requirement from the state of Illinois. It is a continuous improvement model, which is basically a fancy term for the state saying these actions are required for you to continually improve as a district. So we are requiring you to outline the steps that you are going to take to make progress towards meeting those. And so that is something that we do not only for compliance towards the state, but because we know that it's also best practice, so we continually analyze and monitor the progress that we're making.
A very nice feature of the updated standards-based report card for kindergarten through third grade is that it provides parents with information in an easy-to-read format. The report card, like I previously stated, is 2 pages. And on both pages, there's narrative explanations for how to read that page of the report card with specific details on what it means to have certain markings in certain boxes. So instead of having a report card where we assume our families are familiar, while most of them are, this new report card, which is a different format, is very well explained. It also communicates a detailed analysis of each student's skills. In the past, the report card simply gave a below meets or exceeds grade, let's say for mathematics, and sub-skills within mathematics. Now, teachers can communicate to parents actually specific detail down to the standard level of the Common Core standards for which specific learning standards are informing that ultimate grade for the student, which helps 2 things. It helps the teacher know what to focus on to help students, but it also helps parents at home to have more specific information of what to work on with their child. And finally, the report card is aligned with the Common Core, which Elizabeth stated, which is important due to the district's focus on college and career readiness. By using those standards-based measures that are aligned with the Common Core standards, we're communicating specifically what point a student is at on their road to college and career readiness.
So some of our next steps is we have worked very closely with the building administrators to provide professional development for them as well as for all of our teachers. So we'll continue the training and support for staff and administration. The technology department has worked closely with us to make sure that we've built capacity within the building so that the teachers are supported as they work with the report cards. The curriculum department has worked very closely with the teachers and administration to ensure that these standards are aligned with planning and instruction. Also, communication support to meet student and parent needs. So we want to be available and answer questions, and we do appreciate the feedback from the community because we do want to create the most user-friendly document that we can because we all have the same goal of increasing student achievement, and we want to work together as partners with that. We also, after the first report card goes out in October, we definitely will be debriefing so that we have a plan that if we need to monitor and adjust or look at anything a little bit differently to meet the needs of parents, student, and teachers, we are more than willing to do that and are planning on doing that. We also are going to begin the process of report card modifications for 4th and 5th grade. So we will have a committee and people's input to help us through that.
In terms of the communication that has been presented to date to parents and the surrounding community, back to school registration was chosen as the most optimal context to provide a flyer for parents to reach as many families as possible, which explained that there was a new report card for kindergarten through 3rd grade, summarized many of the points in this presentation, and also provided a friendly web link, which is www.vvsd.org/K5 report cards. And this presentation, of course, is online, and that parent dashboard hyperlink goes directly to that website. It creates a parent dashboard, which is essentially a place for parents to get information about standards-based grading, as well as view copies of all of the report cards and progress reports. Finally, for staff, a separate dashboard was created to make things as convenient as possible for staff to help with their instruction for our students. Again, staff can view all the report cards and progress reports, but also all of the documents that inform their instruction related to curriculum and benchmarks that determine how a student can meet standards on the report card, as well as frequently asked questions to help our teachers not only instruct in a way that aligns their teaching with the new report card, but also to provide effective communication to parents in forums such as parent-teacher conferences or other venues where parents have questions. We're supporting our teachers as much as possible so they can communicate that information clearly.
Adam, could you do us a favor and just give us a visual of what this dashboard looks like? Dashboard is just a fancy term for a place where you can see all the tools or resources that you need to access in one location. Much like the dashboard on a car, you can see your speed and all information related to your car.
So this is what we call the parent and community website or dashboard. Again, you can see that you can view the report cards for each grade level, the progress reports for each grade level. There's also a question and answer section that has common questions, such as if a student has an IEP, a student is in the challenge program, who can I contact with questions? And if you click on any of those links, of course, you get that information. And then we have a plug to our curriculum website for parents as well, which is a helpful tool to help our families work with their children at home. If we go back to the presentation. The staff dashboard, again, is set up in a similar format, but is for use by Valley View teachers, administrators, and other staff. All of the documents related to math and literacy that inform instruction on the report card, as well as additional resources for standards-based grading and frequently asked questions are available. And this includes all of the communication that the district has sent to our staff, all in one convenient location, which we hope makes things as convenient as possible for our teachers.
So to close this presentation, we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to do the best for the children. So we want our children to be self-directed learners. And this video shows a little snapshot of what our children can do to feel empowered about their learning.
I'm Olivia Pretner from Mrs. Marsh's class at Frias Elementary School, and my homework assignment for the 3rd week of school is to pretend to be the teacher and to teach my mom that I'm no longer going to be getting A's, B's, and C's. I've never actually gotten B's or C's. I've gotten straight A's, so I'm no longer going to be getting those because we're doing different gradings. So first is emergent developing. That is, you're on the bottom of the mountain. You have to try to get to right here of the mountain, but you're on the bottom. That means you need like a lot of help. Like if she gives you a problem, you barely understand it and you need a lot of help from the teacher. So here's the student standing right next to the teacher, right there, and it says constantly needs assistance to complete the grade level tasks. So we have that there. Then in the next one is approaching. In approaching, you are at this point of the mountain and you need to be up here, kind of. But the teacher's not really right next to you. She's actually a little bit farther from you because you need her a lot, just not all of the time. So that would be frequently needs assistance to complete the grade level tasks. And that means like you can kind of understand it like a little bit more. It's just you need a little more help. Next is meets. Meets is like average. Average is pretty much like you're supposed to be there. You're doing good. That's where you want to be. Right here, which is goal. You're right there at the mountain. You're doing good. That means you're performing at the right grade level. That means you understand it enough to pass. And you don't need a teacher because the teacher's not there. Next is exceeds. Exceeds is like the top of the mountain. You know it like that. And you don't need help. You're way, way above and beyond. You're constantly masters grade level expectations above and beyond. You're at the top of the mountain. There's no teacher. You're just great. Thank you. And goodbye.
Well, thank you. At this time, would you like us to answer any questions, or does anyone have any questions for us?
On the slide where you indicated to the parents where it's like A11, A12, are those explained to the parents as to what that A11 stands for on the report card? Do you know what I'm talking about? It was like 4 slides back from
the strategic plan or Rising Star?
the rising one and the one before that.
We have that information included in the information report that's available to the public on board docs. So basically what that references is our strategic plan that we have developed as a district. And so if you look in the information report, it has greater detail. Just for purposes of the slide, we didn't want to put all of that text on there, but it is certainly available for our parents to see.
It's not on, those letters, those reference points aren't made on the report card.
No, no, those reference points are referring to the strategic plan, meaning those bigger picture ideas that as a district we are going to develop into measurable goals and actions to move forward to increasing rigor in our curriculum, into communicating about our students' progress, into assessing our students. And so that's related to the strategic plan. That is not something that would appear on the report card.
On the indicators, like the 2.1A, is that explained to the parents? I mean, as to what does 2.1A stand for?
Sure. If you look on the information report, and this is available to the public, there are two documents that are available on board docs right now. If you were to click on the board agenda for this evening, and you will see the PowerPoint, which has the links in it, and parents can click on those. And the other one that you'll see is the actual information report. So, for example, where it says, one of the reasons that we are bringing this to you is due to our strategic plan. It says 2.1, we will adopt, implement, monitor, and evaluate with fidelity the Common Core state standards and any relevant national standards within each content area and across all grade levels. So that is a specific indicator in our strategic plan. And so then our job is to pick that apart and say, okay, one of the action steps that we will take to implement this is we are going to adjust our curriculum to implement the Common Core standards. We are going to modify our report card to communicate that, and so on and so forth.
Okay. My thought was that those are the indicators that the teachers look at, the specific goals.
Okay.
Then they're not, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
thank you.
Mhm. No, that is a great point of clarification, though. Mr. Herter, if you could pull back up the report card and show page 2, please.
Yes.
What parents really need to be concerned about is their child's grade level specific report card. And on the grade level specific report card, you will see information that is specific to that individual grade level and what that individual child should be learning. Also available on the parent, and we'll pull this up here for you in a second, also available on the parent website are benchmarks for learning, which are basically those expectations that we have for our students at different points throughout the school year. And that's what I would really want to be concerned about as a parent. I would want to know, what is it exactly that I should be helping my child with at home? What is exactly that he's having a hard time with, that the teacher needs to be giving him some extra help with? And so when you're a parent, instead of just seeing that my student is below in math, I can see specific areas where maybe he is below, maybe he's meeting in some areas, and then I can look at those particular areas, and if you could expand it for me, I could look at an example of where we could focus as a family, or where the teacher can focus and is focusing to help that student learning. So identify the main topic and key details of a text. So if a student is having trouble in that particular area, instead of just saying, hey student, you are below in language arts, you know the particular skills that a student is below in.
Yeah.
So that is one of the great additions to this report card, is that you know that to a deeper level of information, of depth.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to see, was it was the benchmarks were identified. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Herter or Mrs. Kinder, we had some parents here tonight that had some concerns about standards-based. Now, obviously, we've been standards-based K-3. Can you talk a little bit, and I know we had a nice YouTube video with the young lady, can you talk a little bit about the advantages that standards-based has over the traditional letter grades?
Especially in the elementary level, and of course for this year for K-3, the last video of the student really illustrates how our students are very capable of understanding this format and rubric for their grading. In addition, it informs teachers' instruction at a much more detailed level and a much more valuable level. When you have letter grades, again, like the video said, you are trying to accumulate a certain number of points, and your grade is simply based on an average. And while that is traditional, it is not the most accurate representation of what a student knows. If you provide a list of standards and say which standards students are progressing appropriately on and which they are not, that information is accurate information about a student's performance to parents. And while I think people are aware of what a 70% means in general, that does not provide anywhere near the detail that this format provides for parents as far as what students know. And then in addition, for teachers and informing their instruction, if you say a student has a 70%, they need to bring it up to a 90%. If I'm a teacher, there's a significant amount of work and research I still have to do to understand how am I going from 70 to 90%. Whereas with this format, if you look at the first category in reading, which is reading foundational skills, there's 5 substandards there. As a teacher, I know exactly which substandards and how many I need to focus on for each specific student, which means I'm significantly further ahead, more efficient, and I'm going to be able to have my students perform better.
So if I make a really simple comparison, let's say the letter grade is math, and the two areas, half the grade, it's 100 points, and 50 points I get for addition, and 50 points I get for subtraction. If I get half the points on subtraction, and I get all the points on addition, I'm at a 75%. So I'd get a C. And a parent or a student might think they're doing well, but clearly I don't know half the facts of subtraction that I need to know.
I would say in my experience as a teacher, I taught in the upper grades of elementary, so I was in that situation as a teacher, and there were times where I didn't feel like a detailed picture was provided as well as it could be. And of course, teachers go above and beyond in providing that information to parents now in those upper grades. But I think that the point value is something to underscore as well. When you're dealing with point values and averages, you're putting in an assignment as worth 10 points. Maybe this one's worth 15 because there's 15 questions on the assignment. Those are arbitrary point values that we're assigning to the student's work. This assigns the exact value for each standard because some skill areas have many, many standards. Some, like writing, only has 3. So you can see the ones that are more robust. You can see specifically where students need to work. And there's no mathematical calculations involved, which for elementary school work, especially with the new Common Core standards, those mathematical calculations are arbitrary and are not providing a accurate picture.
So in order to get the meets, I have to be able to meet the standard in all the categories.
Exactly.
I can't be really good at one and have that override an area that I'm not so good in.
Well, and to me, it eliminates the potential inconsistencies among different classrooms. So whether it's within all the 3rd grade classrooms at one school or all the 3rd grade classrooms throughout the entire school district, all of our teachers are teaching and assessing based on the same rubric, the same priority for assessments and learning targets. Whereas before, it's impossible to make sure that people are putting in the same point value for everything. It's just not a feasible solution, which is why the trend is moving in this direction.
And wouldn't that also speak to, we say that students learn at different paces. So, but our traditional kind of point value system does not acknowledge that, because if you don't get it right away, you lose those points. But in a standards-based system, as long as by the end of the quarter or the end of the semester or the grading period, if I got it, even if I didn't get it right at the beginning, as long as I had it by the end, I would be considered meets, regardless if it took me a little longer to get there. Do I have that?
Definitely. I completely agree. And I think one of the most exciting things about this new document is how well it correlates with the new view and the district's beliefs, that you are not penalized for a numerical measure of only getting a 50% on your first assignment. It's what you know and are able to show the teacher that you know that is communicated to parents. It's not an average of all the things you've done for the whole quarter. And the point of the report card, as a parent myself of a child who's in school, I want to know what she can do and what she knows. And a percentage grade tells me that story in general. A standards-based report card tells me that story in immense detail.
If I may add to that, there was a question concerning 9010, which speaks to the standards-based report card as well. The fact that letter grades are very arbitrary and always have been designed to be arbitrary. In other words, you don't really know what they mean because we don't know what value is placed on particular subsets of that letter grade. It really renders that letter grade a useless measure in terms of academic outcomes. We are now living in a standards-based world in which we have not lived in that world previously. And to have a system of grading that is not standards-based in a standards-based world is a recipe for disaster when trying to set goals and make determinations about what our kids know and do not know. And so the fact that we have to use letter grades in our upper grade levels, particularly 4 through 12, to not in some way be able to standardize that process by ensuring that the letter grade, 90% of that grade is based on what students know and are able to do, as opposed to some arbitrary system which has been designed to reward and punish kids in the past, would not be appropriate and serve the best interest of our children. And that is the very, very Cliff Notes version of why we do what we do. But again, there will be further clarification down the road again.
So tonight we just wanted to take the opportunity to preview the report card that our families will soon be seeing, and we will be providing support to the buildings to communicate with families and answer any questions that families do have in understanding these. And we will also have a focus in our parent nights and community forum nights on helping parents with any questions they may have with the report card, and in hearing input that parents have for us as well.
I want to take a second to thank Mr. Herder. There was a lot of people that touched this, but you really put a ton of work in on this. Multiple drafts, hours of work. Definitely appreciate what you've done.
I appreciate it, and it really was a collaborative success story for all of the administrative positions, as well as our building administrators and teachers and parents in the community. The amount of input from all different stakeholders, I think, makes this a very valuable tool for us to report student progress.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Grisafi.
Yes.
School safety audit.
Bring you tonight the 2012-13 school safety audit. The purpose of the audit is to perform an independent assessment of any action taken by schools to ensure the safety and security of our schools to students, staff, parents, and the community. The bulk of this work was spearheaded by our safety coordinator, Leroy Brown. So really, I am just reporting out for him. This binder here contains all of the comments and concerns by building. He went through every building. It was a 5-month process. Began in late January, concluded at the end of the school year in June. So it was about a 5-month process, start to finish. Comments are general in nature. We found a door to the boiler room unlocked, or a missing door number, room number rather, for easy identification. Concerns would have been a little more urgent, if you will, in terms of needing attention. Fire extinguisher may have had a lapsed certification, and so certainly those things were dealt with in a more expeditious manner. And so every 3 years we're required to conduct the audit. It is done with the help of staff and the building leadership, as well as several parent volunteers that go through our schools pretty much with a fine-tooth comb. And so you have those audit results in your board docs link there. And so we just wanted to bring it to you tonight for formal approval and answer any questions you may have.
Is there a motion to approve the audit?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion?
Just for those of you who haven't read one of these before from Mr. Brown, they are thorough and complete, and I appreciate the work you're doing at Mr. Brown and your committee. Thank you.
Absolutely. Security of all facets, not just the kind of things that we see that happened out in the east in Connecticut, but also tornadoes and hangnails and where to go and what to do and all the other things that go with that. Safety and security is job one, because if you don't have that, you certainly can't have a positive learning environment. Myself, superintendent, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Gugis met with some people who know an enormous amount of security just recently, and they were very, very impressed with what we do here at Valley View, and we will continue to be the standard, hopefully, for the region on how these things are accomplished. Mr. Brown, my hat's off to you. Thank you. We have a motion and we have a second.
I just wanted to piggyback my opportunity to tour several schools in the district over the last couple weeks, and the most important factor of that high level and safe and secure environment is it's almost completely invisible to the students during the day. And that is, to me, one of the most important things, because the children in the district are worrying about one thing, and that's learning. So that's, to me, one of the most important things to point out, and my kudos to the staff and everything else, because it's almost completely invisible.
Yeah, it was funny during our meeting with this outside security group, and they were touting their expertise in foreign countries and doing all the different things that they did in Afghanistan. And I asked them a question. Mr. Brown's people keep our kids safe, and they also hug my 9-year-old daughter when she walks up to give them a hug. And there's a balance there that Mr. Brown's created to have both a safe yet still welcoming environment. So, it's definitely appreciated.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes. Ms. Hawks?
Thank you, President Quigley. This evening, we're seeking your approval on Action Report 13.1, Consolidated Action Report for Certified and Classified Personnel. This includes 24 items for certified personnel, 28 for classified, and 1 for administrative certified personnel.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Sikora?
Yes.
Member Felice?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes. Ms. Kinder, I assume that you gave your report?
Yes, sir, I did.
Thank you. Mr. Alperin?
No report this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you. AFT report? No report. Thank you. Office Valley View Council report? No report. Thank you. Valley View Office Personnel Council report? Apparently no report. Any old business before the board this evening? Any new business before the board this evening? Any questions from the public on actions we have taken this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. Yes. Oh, please step forward. And this is on final actions we've taken.
Yes.
Okay.
I apologize if I don't know the
It's okay.
routine of how it goes, so this is my first time at a full board meeting.
Go ahead.
All right, so the question is not on me. I got a couple questions and comments. I was writing it down and jotting it down as you all were going over the standardized. And I don't mean any disrespect, but to me, it sounded like we're dummying down the report cards. That's what it sounded like to me. We talked about a committee and the people. We're just wondering, that's one question that we had too. What committee and what parents did you all reach? Nobody got a letter in the mail. Nobody I talked to knew about being on that committee. What parents did we talk to? What parents were involved?
Sure. There is one venue. The board has an academic committee that parent representatives serve on. Member Gugis runs that academic committee, and there are parents involved in that, and I'm sure that we can provide you with the names if you would like to speak to any of those parent representatives. And then we also had other parents review the revisions throughout the process and provide input, and so we'd be happy to provide that information to you.
And the standardized, you made the comment that we living in a standardized based world. I haven't seen a college that has standardized based. I even called to just check to make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong. Is that the way the colleges are doing it now if we're preparing our kids for college? Standardized report cards.
Actually, to be honest, colleges more today base a report card on 100% of what you know and 0% of what you do. For example, my college experience is that the process that you go through for which to obtain the knowledge is of consequence only to the degree that it supports the knowledge gained. So the grade that you get in college is not based on the amount of homework you do, the amount of classes you attend, the amount of participation in a classroom, or any of those things. The only factor in which your grade in college is based is on whether or not you know the content or you don't. So for example, if you're training to be a doctor, the process that you go through to be a doctor is of little to no consequence as it applies to whether or not you know the stuff. And if you have a doctor that's operating on you, I think that you would prefer to know that that doctor has expertise, that doctor's grade represents that they are expert in the field of brain surgery, than that they complied with all of the expectations en route to becoming an expert, even though they did not prove proficiency or expertise on the assessment that would determine whether or not they can operate on your head or not. And in our system right now, unfortunately, what we have done in the past is we have assessed the process of learning far more than the outcome of learning. And I have copious amounts of data both within this district and outside this district that I could use to support our argument in that we need to move away from that. Because if a letter grade of an A is placed on a report card and you don't know what that A means, which in reality we don't know what that A means in a non-standard based reporting system, then what we have been doing and what schools continue to do is give this false perception that kids have content mastery when in fact they do not. When I've said this story at the board meeting before, when I first became superintendent of this district, the math teachers from Joliet Junior College approached me and asked and indicated to me that of all of the high schools that students apply and enter Joliet Junior College, our district had one of the highest percentage of kids who allegedly, based on their grades, were prepared for college math, yet when assessed, had to take remedial courses that they had to pay for that did not count towards their credits in order to get prepared for those college math courses. In examining that notion, it became clear to me that the grades we were distributing to kids were not an accurate reflection of what they know. And if we continue to distribute grades that are not an accurate reflection of what kids know, then we give this false notion that they're prepared for college when in fact they are not. And so what we're trying to do in this administration is ensure that whatever measure we use for reporting student proficiency, it's an accurate measure, whether it be a letter grade or whether it be the standards-based report card. When in actuality, when you turn it over, we're still using letters, they're just different letters. One is A, B, C, D, and F. One is E, M, S, and U. But they basically say the same things. So I think we're married to this notion of letter grades when in fact they have not, nor have they ever been designed to accurately reflect student outcomes. Hence the reason for 90-10. Because if we continue to allow the system to grade kids on, for example, we've had kids who have exceeded proficiency standards on exams. In other words, proven that they have mastered the content, 90 to 100% of the content, yet got a letter grade that reflected a D or even an F in some cases because we're assessing the process. And so, is it fair for me to give your child a letter grade of a D when in fact they've proven mastery on the standard for which we are measuring them? I would say that's not a fair standard. When you take into account the heterogeneous nature of our school district, the many different kids that come to us, and the power that a letter grade brings, and allowing 1,600 professionals to determine in their own right what grade they're going to give kids, it's very tough for us as administrators to ensure accurate progress, an accurate reflection of what our kids know, given that our grading system is so all over the place. And that's not just Valley View, that's nationwide. I think Valley View is very progressive in addressing this issue, because absent that, again, we do not know what the grade means, and if we do not know what the grade means, we cannot accurately assess to the degree we're preparing our kids for college and careers.
Look, I think I heard your question a little different.
Can I just
Go
say
ahead.
then one? If we're preparing our kids, and I don't mean any disrespect, like I said, to my school, 5 years we got a letter in the mail saying we still cannot meet the ISAT standards. We are still failing. So if we're preparing our kids the proper way, even when you're talking about with college or different things, then even with changing the letter grades, because we're not accurately grading them right, why can't we meet the standards? Out of 5 years, I've been here 4, and we still are not meeting the standards. In the 4 years, we changed over to the Common Core because that was the reason why that our kids in Illinois was not getting the information that they need. They're not learning on the same level. So that's why we were switched over. So academic-wise, if you're talking about those kids that went to Joliet Junior College, can you really compare them to the kids now? Because we supposed to have a better academic laid out for our children right now. So we really can't compare them to our children right now, because somewhere the ball was dropped with those kids. That's what I'm gonna take it. Somewhere the ball was dropped. And then when you're talking about assessing, when you're talking about assessing, you're going to assess my child on that one time. When that teacher takes my child, let's say counting by twos, I'll go to first grade, counting by twos. My child maybe have counted by twos all the way up, but the rule say it's 3 seconds. So I took 4 seconds when I got to 20 to trans over to 22. I took 4 seconds. So therefore, you're not mastering the standards because you took 4 seconds rather than 3 seconds. But I went all the way past 100 counting by twos. So you telling me that all the work I did prior to this, it does not matter. It doesn't matter because it's not a grade on it. All that matters is that day that teacher gets ready to assess me, I need to be ready to master that skill. Doesn't matter if I had a bad day, didn't have a good night rest. When that teacher assesses me, I need to have I need to master it that day. If I don't master it that day that teacher tested me, then all that work I did before is in vain.
I would agree that there's many points which you made that I would disagree. In the interest of brevity, because I do wish that you had come to one of our many community outreaches that addressed this topic. So I know that I could spend hours having conversation with you about this. I would just suggest that we set up a time to meet and we talk about this in depth so that we don't spend the amount of time that everyone knows I can when it comes to this topic. But you have in many instances we agree, and the systems we are putting in place are designed to combat just what you said. But I think that there's not as clear understanding as to the method for our reasoning that I'm sure if we are able to have an in-depth conversation about that, I would be able to allay your fears.
And Dr. Mitchell,
when
if I may,
when you do the community thing, because like when kindergarten was getting ready to be established, I mean, I was gun-ho. I was all with you. I was letting people know, make sure you fill out that kindergarten paper because we need that. We're going to a rigorous, let's go. Let's get on it. So, I mean, I don't mind dropping them. Please, drop it in my box. Email me.
Drop what in your box?
Let me know. You said I missed the community when you were talking about
sure.
the mini meetings.
Yeah.
So I do have 4 little children. So I do.
Now, our most recent community forums are not going to be predicated on 90-10. We've kind of beat that horse to death over the last 2 years. We will entertain questions and answers.
I mean, I can,
we will be talking about the standards-based grading as well.
Okay.
But my point to you is that some of the issues that you raised, I clearly have very specific answers for. I just don't want to use tonight's venue in which to answer those because it can become lengthy.
Right. No, I'm saying for future, for anything that doesn't even pertain to academics, it could be something else.
Sure. We make it a point to avail ourselves to the community every year, twice a year, for that purpose, to make sure that we have an exchange of information and any questions that need to be asked by the community can be. Also on the website is the Ask the Superintendent button. You can click on that and ask me any question for which you find important, and either I will respond to you, or if it's a very content-specific question that I require expertise from one of our directors or assistant superintendents, I'll refer that to them, and we will make sure that we answer any questions you have.
Okay.
You mentioned one point that I'm going to stay away from 90-10 directly. You said, what do colleges look at? You're right, colleges still look at grades, and we give letter grades at the high school level. Colleges don't look at elementary report cards when they admit your child. But one thing the colleges have done more and more of is look less at your GPA and more at your ACT score, your essay, and because they don't know what an A means. And then when people go to college and then they try to go out in the workforce, more and more professions are requiring some kind of board or some kind of exam to prove that you know what those letter grades say because they don't necessarily believe those letter grades either. So at each step of the process, people have got less faith in what letter grades mean, and that's why we could name all the professions: nursing, doctor, electrician. You name the profession that has some physical therapist, that has some board exam before you can actually do that position. And it didn't used to be like that. It used to be like, oh, you got A's, you got a GPA of 4.0, you know the stuff. Now everyone has recognized that letter grades, an A from this school is different than an A from this school, as it's different from this teacher to this teacher. So those are some of the issues that go with letter grades. But to be clear to your question, we still give letter grades at high school. That is what's required by colleges, and that's why we do it.
And Ms. Warren, I wanted to make one final comment. You had mentioned about ISAT and decrease in scores. I wanted to make a clarification for our community that we will be bringing information to the board to explain the changes that the state is making with the assessment system. The state realized that the old test, the old ISAT, was not assessing what colleges expect our students to know and be able to do. So they are changing that ISAT test, and at the same time, they've also changed the cut scores, which means the level that you need to score at to be defined as meets or exceeds. So it may appear that a student score dropped when in fact it's because the state has raised the bar. And in many cases, our students are growing and are showing improvement, as are our schools. It does appear, though, because of that change in cut score, and this is statewide, this is not just Valley View, that there had been a decrease. So we will provide further information to the board and the community about that. And then in terms of the AYP letters that are going home, that is also an increasing bar. So any school that did not have 92.5% of their students meeting or exceeding in all subcategories is defined as not making AYP. There are very few schools in the state that actually did make AYP because they did not meet in one of those categories. So we don't look at that as the only measure. What we are looking at is that we are growing from where we started from and that we are making that progress, because eventually no school in the state will make AYP based on how the criteria have been determined. The state may change that, but that's to be determined. So our important thing now is to look at, are we growing and are we holding ourselves accountable for growth? And we thank you for asking these questions, and we will be happy to speak with you, because we welcome parents to ask us these questions, because it's important that we're not the only ones holding ourselves accountable, that parents and community is as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions from the public, any announcements by the board? Any and all?
Yeah, I want to thank the bands that I saw at the Bolingbrook Pathways Parade. I can't imagine, it was hot, and I can't imagine walking in all that band stuff. I've never been in band, but they were sweating. And I really was impressed with those kids. I know I saw the two high schools. I know I saw, I'm gonna leave somebody out. I know I saw EVM and Lukanzik and Jane Addams. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Brooks, if they were there. I also saw some of our principals out there. Principal Rollerson. I saw Assistant Principal Polson out there supporting our kids. So I was really impressed with our band kids. I'm sure there was others out there too that I missed. But man, it was like 90 degrees and those kids were decked out, and like AVM's uniforms are black. And I was like, oh man, they gotta be hot. So, but great job by the kids.
Also, shout out to Bolingbrook High School's ROTC program. I believe they won the Grand Marshal Award. So congratulations to them as well. And the participation from all of the organizations, the sports organizations, the dance organizations, and everything. That parade is a terrific opportunity to showcase. We have another one next weekend in Romeoville, and I'm sure there's going to be some tremendous outpouring there as well. And personal shout out thanks to Jason and his staff at Jane Addams, as well as Trisha's staff at Lukanzik for my tours this last week. It was very impressive. And Mike, the facilities, you could eat off the floors. You could, I didn't see anything that wasn't working, and that's what I'm looking for. So it was a tremendous opportunity, and I thank you guys and all your staff. So congratulations and thanks.
Thank you to Bolingbrook High School, who appreciated their teachers, both from Bolingbrook and Romeoville, Friday night at the football game. Also the board members. I understand that Romeoville High School did this last year, and so I think that's an excellent way to celebrate the teachers and show that you care. Thank you.
I just wanted to echo my sentiments about that. That was a great event. Of course, Mr. Kinder set the bar last year, and then Rob, I don't know, you guys had the cookout was pretty even there, so you guys may have to come up with something a little better next year, Derek. But honestly, the kids from both schools, it was a hard-fought competition on the fields, and the reality is the score did not indicate what was going on in the field. It got a little out of hand the last 10 or 15 minutes of the game, but honestly, it was great, a great game for the varsity players and on both sides, and I want to commend the coaches and the principals and all the staff and students that were there. It was a great turnout for the event Friday night. And with that, hearing no other business, motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Hey, John.